Hey, I am spending the night awake like a zombie here at a gas station, truck stoppy gas station type place. And yeah, there's a big highway right there, so I'm not really sure how the audio is going to work out on all of this. Anyways, I'm supposed to tell you guys about my dreams about the future. Now that I feel like it's finally time to tell everyone, and that it's no longer something that needs to be private and reserved. Even though it's something that I was willing to talk to anybody about and eager to talk to everyone and anyone about, people just didn't really take interest in any of my thoughts about the future or angels or God or anything like that. So, I just kind of kept it to myself for the most part, other than writing here and there, which people mostly don't ever read. And the dreams began whenever I was a kid, about maybe 10, 11, 12. And it would be like a switching back and forth, like every other day, every few days thing. Like one night I would have dreams about the future, what the future was going to be like for mankind 100 years from then or 50 years from then. And then the next morning or the next night I would have a dream about what the next 2 days was going to be like for me, or the next morning. A lot of the times it would be dreams about what the next morning was going to be like. And also whenever I would go through this like half awake, half asleep stage, when you're first waking up, like crashing into that threshold of being awake or whatever, I would also receive information while I was in that state. And I don't know what that's called. I've heard people talk about it before. I just haven't really studied up on it. And it might be like information like if I hadn't seen somebody it might be somebody that I hadn't seen in a really long time, like 6 months or a year, and then all of a sudden I was going to see that person, or it was going to be me and a group of my friends together, and we were going to see somebody that we hadn't seen in a long time, or we were going to go somewhere we hadn't gone in a long time, or whatever or whatever we would be going through, I would be dreaming about that very night before. And it actually became so common, like it was happening so often that I was dreaming about what was going to happen the next day or the next morning, that by the time that I opened my eyes and got moving around and stuff, I was able to look at the people around me and tell them what we were going to do that day, like what circumstances or situations, events, whatever were going to take place that day, and which people would be involved, even if it was, like I said, people who we hadn't seen in a really long time. And then there would be dreams about a future even beyond then and beyond now, during which mankind is really, really suffering and struggling. And those dreams would be really traumatic. Like, I would wake up from those dreams and I would be just like in a catatonic state, just like, you know what I mean? Like super messed up from these dreams that I had, and I super traumatized, and I didn't understand why I was having such traumatizing dreams. I was like, why on earth would my mind physiologically create scenarios for itself that would put it in a state of trauma or, catatonic shock? And it was so severe. The dreams were always so severe and so terrible, and it was a constant trauma that I oftentimes wondered if the government had some way to influence our dreams and give us dreams and make us dreams, force us to dream whatever they wanted us to dream, and that could either be a part of like a testing or torture. You know what I mean? Other times I wondered if God or the devil or demonic forces were influencing my dreams. Sometimes I knew that there were demonic forces influencing my dreams. Sometimes I knew specifically that a dream was from God, or I thought that I did. And then other times I wondered whether or not people were specifically meddling with my dreams. I wondered whether or not mankind had the ability to meddle with dreams, because my dream life has been incredibly intense, and there's been a lot of fighting, there's been a lot of war. I've also seen other people's videos about something like what I'm talking to you about right now, and they actually call these dream sequences simulations, and they were basically considering them government simulations. And I do not give a single mother a fuck how crazy that sounds. So I hope that you can hear me all right. You might not be able to. I'm going to give you a few examples of my dreams of the immediate future that I had in the past, and then I would like to give some examples or a description of what the future is going to be like in this very tribulation-y, horrible situation in the future. All right, so I was just trying to think of one. Here's one. I had a dream while one of my adult kids, my millions of adult kids, while they were still in a car seat, I had a dream that this bitch named Carrie, who used to date this other BA in the ghetto, I had a dream that Carrie showed up to my apartment, which was really weird because Carrie didn't hang out with me and she didn't come to my apartment. And in my dream, Carrie was drunk, and she had my baby in the back seat of her car, and she and my baby had gotten into an accident. She had been drinking and driving, and my baby was in the back seat of her car, and he didn't have a car seat. And they got hurt really bad. And my baby, in the dream, my baby didn't make it. And, you know, it's not often that a mom has a dream that their baby passes away. You know, that's a pretty serious dream. You should probably pay attention to. All right, so I was just like, oh man, that was weird. And kind of shook it off a little bit. And I did end up like telling a couple people about the dream throughout the day and stuff like that. It just bothered me so much. This dream bothered me so much. But then all of a sudden, out of the blue, Carrie shows up in the ghetto. She shows up to my apartment. And I would later find out that it was actually my little baby's dad who was trying to set this up. He was literally trying... So ends up being that it was actually my baby's father who set this whole thing up, this whole scenario up. And what this chick was supposed to do was she was actually supposed to get drunk and go get into a car wreck with the baby in the car. This was actually a plan that they all came up with. This is the kind of stuff that I've had to deal with like my whole life, basically, is people's plans. But especially after I had a child and was a young mother in the ghetto, it was just people's plot after plot, plans after plans after plans after plans after plan after plan after plan. And several, lots and lots of times their plans did involve my babies getting hurt. The dude's own baby, he would make sure that his own baby got hurt. He would even poison his own baby to make sure that I got hurt. So I'm like, man, that's a weird dream, right? So ends up Carrie comes over, okay? She's actually at my apartment. And she's like trying to act all chummy with me and stuff like that. And she's like, she's asking if she can take the baby. She's asking if she could take the baby with her. She's like, can I take him with me? She says that I can't even remember what she says that they're gonna go do. I can't remember if she even gives a reason, and she's not like a fun, mothery type. She's like a party lesbian crackhead. She doesn't give a shit about anyone's kids. For real. But she just so happens to be good buddies with my baby's fatherly person. I'm not going to say baby daddy because that's weird and it sounds close, and I was not close to this person. Literally was only really a part of my life for like a few months. All right, well, she begs and begs and begs if she could take the baby with her, and I had that dream the night before, and I keep telling her no, that she can't take him, and she's like literally practically begging me, and I'm like, I don't have a car seat, you know what I mean? I don't want to be rude or whatever to her, so I'm just like, all of a sudden I'm like, I don't have a car seat, I can't even take him with me, I can't even take him anywhere right now or whatever. She's like, just let me take him with me. I'll just run around the corner with him, and we'll get a car seat from the chick in the back building. It's no problem. I swear I'll get a car seat on the way out, is what she says. Just let me take him with me. And I was like, no, I can't let you take him with, But she tried for hours to take him. And then the next day I heard that she'd gotten into a wreck out on the Dairy Road. What do we call that? Phillips Dairy Road out Buchanan. I don't care if you know who I'm talking about or not. I could give 6 fucks less. There's lots of fucking Carries all over the place. Super don't gaff. Or yeah. So bro ended up getting in a drunk wreck on the Phillips Dairy Road, and that was exactly what happened in my dream, was her getting in a wreck, only it was my like I said. So that's one like really, really weird. That was one really weird instance when I had a dream beforehand, and then the very next day it began to manifest. And if I hadn't had that dream the night before, who's to say that I wouldn't have just buckled underneath the pressure of this bitch spending hours trying to get me. She spent fucking hours trying to get me to send my baby with her so that she could go fucking drinking and driving on some back roads. And I can't even remember what she was trying to tell me she was going to take him for. Like, it was something innocent, I remember that, but... And I had really been struggling with whether or not to accept, I'd really been struggling with the reality that I might be able to have dreams about things before they happened. It was really difficult for me to accept that. It took me having dreams about things before they happened for over 10 years or thereabouts before I was like, all right, I surrender. And it was serious dreams that were life or death situations just like this. I did also mess up at times and not warn people when I felt that I should have warned them. And because I didn't warn them, and who's to say that they would have even listened to what I was saying, but because I didn't warn them, each of those people ended up getting into accidents. And one became paraplegic afterwards and then committed suicide about 10 or 15 years later. And then the other one lost one of his reproductive organs, one of the ones that dangle. I was really scared. I would have been real scared to really it wasn't that I was scared to tell people what was going on, because I was trying to tell people about it, and they were just like, they just acted like, to me, it was something that I wanted to break apart like a science. You know what I mean? That I wanted other people to know, and I wanted it to be taken apart, and I wanted it to be, you know what I mean, dissected and to be, you know what I mean? I wanted it all to be like researched and studied, and I wanted everybody to know what was happening, and like, Okay, so like I was talking about how I wasn't sure whether or not to believe it. Like, so in the mornings, like whenever or throughout the day, whenever things would unfold, and I would think to myself, wait a second, didn't I hear that in a dream last night? I dreamt about this. I dreamt that we would have this conversation today. Like, oh, didn't I just tell you guys that? Oh yeah, you did tell us that a little bit ago. Yeah, that's really weird. Like, I would always I would always try to chalk it up to something else. Like, I would always try to come up with some excuse as to why what was happening was happening. It was always any kind of excuse that I could come up with other than that it was this, these premonitions or these, psychic, or these, prophetic dreams and visions and stuff like that. I tried to come up with, any excuse for it, other than that. And I also didn't want to think of myself as like this grand person. You know how they say that some people have delusions, that some people have delusions of grandeur. I didn't want to like be like that, you know, because that is a pretty far out thing, you know, that somebody would be able to see the future like that, especially so clearly, or that they would be given warnings. Because in that situation with my baby, honestly, that was a warning from God. That was a warning from the other side. I don't believe that it was just a premonition that came from just me. I don't believe that it was a premonition that came from some alternate dimension or from the future, where I was just so grievous that I was so grievous about what happened to my baby that I was able to let myself know back in time to not let that happen. I don't believe that that was it at all. I believe that that was a God thing, and that God was warning me, and that He prevented me from putting my baby on that bus, so to speak. I hope I explained that well enough, because that was a really, really bizarre incident. And honestly, after that, I was like, holy crap. Like, after she got in a wreck, even after I dreamt that and everything, she would have taken my baby and said that she was going around the corner to get a car seat. And I could have just let her go like that, and her not go and get a car seat, and my dream would have come true. But no, I held on to him, and I held him there, and, you know, made sure that, you know, she didn't take him out of there. But anyways, now I'm going to tell you about one of my future dreams, or a few of my future dreams. Some information about the future anyways. All right, so in one of my dreams about the future, we're all gathered around. It's actually just a weird scene, almost like this. You know, but I think it's like an alley or something like that, kind of. It's just very basic like this. And there's a few of us, and we're just standing outside talking, and then all of a sudden, out from behind, all of a sudden, one of the kids in our group just begins to walk up, and the kid walks up and is looking into this dumpster, right? He takes a look into this green dumpster, right? And we're just watching him look into that green dumpster, right? And just out of fucking nowhere, dude, this man comes out from behind the dumpster and grabs a hold of that little boy. This boy's only like 7 or 8 years old, you guys. He just grabs a hold of that little boy, and he starts eating that boy alive. He just starts, and it's not like zombies. It's not like the zombies in the movies. It's like a different kind of zombie. It's a zombie that really happens in real life. You know, it's a zombie who's not on drugs, and, you know, that's not his job. He's not getting paid to do that. You know, like all the rest of you zombies. You know, it's a situation where people are really hungry. They've been hungry for a long time, and they've needed resources for a long time. There's a problem with people socially. There's a big difference in people's perceptions. Like, there's certain groups of us who are okay, and we have okay perceptions, and we're okay resourcefully. But then there's these other people who maybe what they went through during the collapse or during whatever happened, maybe they didn't begin with the same sound mind that some of us did, or maybe their experience for whatever reason was so different that rather than being in any part of any group or banding together with anyone or trying to help save other people or lead other people, instead of doing anything good, they instead have shrunk back and just come out to attack whoever, and to just take and eat and kill and just do whatever they want to whoever they want. And they learn how to be just terrifying, so that no one will try to physically intervene whenever they do attack. Because when this guy came out from behind the dumpster, I mean, it was absolutely like some kind of monster out of a movie, and that was just a regular person. And this dream, this is like, I know that it might sound crazy. I do absolutely believe that I was shown a scene from the future, that it really is a future here in America that is going to play out. That people are going to get absolutely so desperate that they really will chase each other down and begin to eat each other alive. I've already seen it, and not just in movies. And I didn't just get the idea from movies. And in this particular situation, this was unlike any movie I've ever seen. I've never ever seen a movie where a man who doesn't have anything technically wrong with him runs out from behind a fucking dumpster and begins to eat a child. I've never seen ever any movie like that. The only movies I've ever seen that are even remotely similar to that are movies that are about fucking werewolves, zombies, and vampires. And those are all creatures or people who had something done with them. They've been reanimated, or they've been whatever. They came back because of some fucking plague, or they're not quite all there. They're literal zombies or whatever. That was not this situation. Mankind is already in a bad place. They're already in a bad place mentally. If the shit collapses, don't think for a second that the scenario that I just described to you wouldn't play out. And it could potentially play out faster and easier than any of us would have ever formally expected. Like, some of these people's minds are just that weak. They really are. They've never been forced to have to think or be resourceful or do anything other than drive cars and work and wipe their fucking asses and, make orders at the drive-thru. DoorDash, Netflix. These people are not prepared for a catastrophic event. And in some ways, I feel that they were prepared to not be, so that whenever the shit does go down, the people who consider all of this entertainment can just watch and giggle. In my dreams, most of America is just ash. It's rubble. There's a lot of places burning. The people are constantly running. A lot of my dreams, I'm just running and I'm leading and I'm guiding people through. So, and it's just like basically night and day, running and running. We don't really get comfort. We don't really get to, there's no sleeping on beds anymore. It's just everywhere we go. It's, we just have to sleep However, sometimes we can't sleep at all. The sleep thing is a problem. There's a great shortage of food. There's a shortage of anything that there would have ever been. Basically, you can't go to stores and buy those things anymore. That part is kind of like Zompocalypse and shit. We weren't really able to use the cars anymore, and some of the cars are cut completely in half to where all that's left is the trunks, and you'll have like an area where it's just trunk. It'll be just like half cars all lined up, and that is where the goods and some of the kids are stored. So basically, like with the when fights break out, there'll be like there's guns still, and then there's other weaponry and other weird stuff that's being thrown back and forth and cast back and forth. Sometimes we wouldn't have everyone in the right place, of course, right whenever the fighting first broke out. So we would hear the gunshots, or we would hear that, and then all the little kids would run. All the little kids run and get into those trunks of those cars, and then we would have to go and we'd hurry up and close those trunks and lock them and shit like that. And it would make it to where, well, I'll let you think about all that. There's like some kind of group of people or certain individuals who they've been, I'm going to just say, tampered with. I'm going to assume by the government. And for whatever reason, they're immortal. It could also be like a supernatural, spiritual thing. But there's good guys and bad guys that are immortal. And in the end times, some of the immortal bad guys actually join forces with the immortal good guys and start to help the immortal good guys. It's really weird. Like people who were like really, really, really super evil, like viciously evil, like I don't know. It's really difficult to. At one point, I lead this like caravan of people out into the desert, and we are looking out over the horizon, and all of a sudden, these like tanks and like army type vehicles start rolling up in the distance, and everybody's like freaking out. Everybody starts freaking out and stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, why is this happening? I led all these people to safety. God led us here. Like, why would this be happening? And I was like, I wouldn't have led all these people to their deaths. And it was a really big, shocking time for me in this dream sequence that I was having. And I started praying, and all of a sudden, all of these crows began to come from all different directions from the sky, and all of these crows landed on all of these military vehicles that were headed towards us, and so many birds showed up and landed on them that it completely immobilized their caravan, and it prevented them from moving towards us any further. It was really bizarre. And the running from people who will eat you thing is very real. And sorry to break it to you, it's actually worse than some zombies, because in Zompocalypse, those zombies are slow, or I guess in the other ones, and there's fast zombies, I guess, too, in a couple of the other films. And those are the freakiest zombies, right? But what's even freakier than a zombie who ain't really all there, and their brains are a little bit messed up, and what's even freakier than that is somebody who that's the same person that they were, you know what I mean? Only now they're chasing people down and eating them alive because they've turned into the more violent, sinister version of themselves, and they've lost all humanity based on whatever it is that whatever snapped inside of them. And in my dreams, we are running from people who are ready to eat us, and they really will. Even if all they get is a fucking chunk of your flesh, they will run and jump at you and take a bite out of you and just start biting. They just start biting. They just start eating. It's really that bad. And some of them people, you can fight off. We fought. There's a lot of fighting in the dream. Some of those people you can fight off. And other times, like I said, that little kid who was just, all he did was go over there and look in the dumpster, blam, he was gone. That dude just came in and just took it jugular, and he'd taken chunks out of that little boy within seconds. And it was it was so loud and so violent and so terrifying that everyone was afraid to stop him at the time. Like, just such a fucking terrifying thing. There's several adults standing there, and we're all just so mortified by what we're seeing, that he's actually able to, get rid of, do this kid in, really fucking quickly. It was really, really terrible dream. But, that's just a little tiny glimpse of the future of America. I very, very much do believe, and it's really sad. I personally would hope that nothing like that would ever happen. I would never wish that on us, as mad as I do get at America, and as much as, because I'm kind of going through some shit with them at the moment. The dreams that I had were so traumatizing and so terrible that I would have never wished it on anybody. And I just would do anything. I would do everything that I could, and I would encourage everyone else to do everything that they can to prevent these dreams from happening. Because when this stuff starts, it doesn't actually stop. In my dreams, we just run and run and run. We're constantly trying to find a safe place. We're constantly trying to help save as many people as we can. We're constantly waiting for there to be some kind of relief, some kind of rescue, somebody to show up and be, be like, here, we found some survivors over here, and but that doesn't actually begin to happen until way, way later on. That doesn't begin to happen until things are completely and totally devastated. The first time that any rescue comes, it's by a ship that comes over top of us and pulls us up onto it in the middle of a battle that we weren't prepared to leave. And when we get pulled up during that battle, certain people end up being left behind that, they were the whole reason why we were down there fighting like that. And there's some kind of extraction that begins to happen to certain ones of us, but it ends up being really messed up, inopportune times. And I believe that they're never able to straighten it out. They're never able to make right the timing. They're never able to find certain people that get left behind. It's pretty messed up stuff. It's almost like, all right, I'll tell you another future dream one real quick, and then I should probably be done, because it takes a really long time for these videos to upload, and it makes my phone blow up. It makes my phone get really, really hot for a long time, and sometimes it takes a day or two for the videos to upload. So, okay, so here's one about the future again. I had this friend named Troy, and Troy was 19 years old. He used to play guitar, and he was younger than me, and he was a pretty cool kid. And in a big way, I blame myself for what happened to Troy. Because even though the rest of you don't know, and you might not get it, and you might not understand, By that point, I got it and I understood. But what I lacked was the balls to really let people know. And maybe I did lack a little tiny bit of the faith that I really needed whenever it came to expressing what I was experiencing to others. And that began with Troy. And it's a really, really hard thing to bring up. But this is the one story that made me start to try to have a little bit better balls, because I had zero courage and zero bravery at all. But like, dude, I had this dream that I was Troy and that I was driving a car, and it was nighttime, and there was something going on. We were passing something back and forth from the front to the back in my dream, and I wish I'd stop saying in my dream when I'm talking about a dream. And something happens, we get into a wreck, and I hit the steering wheel, and in the dream, all of my teeth come out of my mouth. Well, I wake up and my back hurts. My spine specifically hurts really bad. Like, all of my spine hurt so bad, and it was like right in the middle. It was like, it felt like it was just like cut, like it'd been hit really hard. It felt like while I was walking that my spine was just gonna like just break in half or something, just come off or whatever. Like I started telling people about the dream that I had, and I was like trying to clean my house and just like ignore it and not think about it. And I was like vacuuming, and the whole time I was vacuuming and trying not to think about it, I was like with the vacuum cleaner, and my spine was going and it hurt really, 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 really bad. I was like, what is going on here? I can't even clean the house without feeling like I'm, you know what I mean, being severed in half. And I was like, why am I being severed in half? I was like, does this have to do with that dream that I was having? Like, what's going on? Like, is God trying to tell me something? I don't get it. And I was like so overwhelmed by all of the physical stuff happening to me, and like all the anxiety that was giving me. It's fucking me up really bad, you guys. And so like I was like, I just have to go tell his mom and see if his mom will care, because if his mom doesn't fucking care about him, if she's not going to fucking care about him, she's not going to fucking speak up about him. Or I was like, surely his mom will care, and she'll fucking speak up to him about it. And if she doesn't, then I don't know. It was like almost like well, if she doesn't tell her son, then I guess we're all, that everybody's fucked and shit like that. I don't know. It was like some stupid fucking idea like that, or something. Like, I was like, surely she's gonna tell her own son, because she loves her own son, you know what I mean? So I go over there, and I actually like spend like an hour over there telling her everything that like, and she's like, oh my God, I just got a flash of my own son in a wheelchair. And she starts staring out and shit. And that's whenever I realized that she sees her son in a wheelchair and she likes it. She literally was like, oh my God, I just saw my son in a wheelchair. And she started staring out, and I was like, oh my God, she's doing this drama queen thing. And now she's starting to fantasize. About how much control she's going to have over her son, and how great it's going to be when he gets a fucking social security check that she gets to spend. And I was like, no, don't think those things about her. You're just so cynical. And I just always chalk it up to me just being cynical, right? And then like, so I was like, please let him know. I was like, please let him know about this dream that I had about him, and, you know, don't let him get hurt and stuff, you know? And she's just like, oh yeah. Okay, so I walked out of her apartment, and I walked down to like a few apartments down where my madre stayed. And, Troy ended up pulling up with his friends and stuff like that. And I remember it was the last time I saw Troy walk. He was with his friends, and I had like really, really low self-esteem. And I was also like, because I was like a mom, and I was like a few years older. And so I just didn't really try to talk to any of the guys, because I just thought like that I was just this mom who like didn't need to be, I don't know, I just felt weird whenever I was younger and during that time frame. And I didn't know how to express to Troy the dream that I had. Like, I didn't know how to tell him. He looked like he was like partying and having a good time, but I knew that that was also the situation he'd get hurt in. And I didn't know how to tell him. I thought that maybe when he walked into his mom's house that maybe she had told him. And I just said, be safe, Troy, and then he left. But that wasn't good enough, because he got, and I went over to his mom's house and I was like, did you tell him? Did you tell him before he left? Did you tell him when he was over here? She was like, oh no, I plumb forgot, even though we just talked about it 5 minutes before when I walked out. And, but it wasn't her burden to bear, and it wasn't her job to tell Troy what had taken place. It was my job to tell him. It was my job to warn Troy, and I didn't warn him right. I didn't warn him the right way. And that night, Troy got into a car accident, and Troy was broken in half, his spine, and his spine was severed, and he was a paraplegic from that point forward. And he played guitar. He played guitar, he played music. He had a girlfriend or two for a while. He tried to hack it. They ended up doing so many different surgeries on him, just like they try to do on a lot of them. And they end up giving them catheters and doing different things to them, and messing them up and messing their heads up. And, he just went through all these different surgeries, and and then his mom was taking his checks, I think, and spending the money on, and I watched him lose a lot of weight. And, I think that she was deliberately kind of keeping him there and isolating him there and not taking him out like she should have, and not getting him out and around, and not, she was using the money to kind of take care of herself secretly, and that things like leaving the house would become more difficult for her because she wouldn't want people to see how high she was or whatever. But anyways, the last time that I passed by their apartment, Troy looked at me and he went in really fast and he slammed the door because he was angry that I didn't stop there. And I felt so guilty because he would end up taking his own life. And we would all pass by his apartment, and so he would even hit us up. Some of us would even hit him up and be like, hey, we're going to stop by. And then we wouldn't stop by, or he'd hit us up and ask us to stop by, and we wouldn't. But it was just weird, because it was just like Troy stuck in a wheelchair, stuck with these guitars, doing the same thing that he was stuck doing when he was 19 years old, because that was all he could do. And, we just weren't stuck back there in that time frame anymore. And, I know that it might sound bad, but I kind of wish that they'd given him a bigger, broader situation than that, and made it to where people were more social with him. And, because he ended up taking his life. But, I was somebody who had, a premonition about that I do believe that that was the beginning of God trying to teach me how to take his dreams seriously, and how to take, that I needed to really take what he was trying to tell me seriously, because it was going to save lives. And that's only just two of the situations during which lives were at risk, and one of them was actually lost ultimately. And the teeth part of the dream, where he's spitting out his teeth in the dream, all my teeth come out. I don't know why that was part of the dream, other than maybe the teeth could have been symbolic of vertebrae. I have no idea what those teeth were symbolic of still to this day, because nothing happened to Troy's teeth at all. But the bat thing was the main thing in the car wreck. And yeah. And I'll sit down and I'll think of some more. I'll try to think of as many more as I can, and I'll try to think of more information. But basically, future bleak. There's Christian persecution. There's something happens that burns a lot of stuff. I don't know if it's radiation or nuclear or whatever. There seems to be boils. There's some kind of boil outbreak on people. There's just so many different things that happen. It almost does seem like some kind of experimental test thing that is for entertainment almost, and it's but it's definitely end of the world, end time shit, and it gets bad and it doesn't get better after that. It just stays bad. It gets bad and it never gets better again. It's the end. It's the end after that. And it's very real. So, hold off on as much as you can help it, and as well as you can help it, hold off on whatever little collapse that you have planned, because when it starts, there's no going back. You'll never be able to have things like this ever again. There will never be peace or order or safety or tranquility anywhere. So, all of you who want things to be really difficult for everybody, and you want war, and you wanna blow things up, and bring religious persecution into things, and you wanna not ever give people justice for the terrible things that you did to them and their kids, or you want to target people out here. You want to just let everything just be so corrupt that it causes a civil war and causes a great collapse, or you want to let your monetary system and everybody who's on the higher end of things just be corrupt and nasty and do nasty things with little kids, and again, not deliver justice in any form to anybody. You just, if you continue to go down the path that you're going, this will turn into Sodom and Gomorrah. It's already Babylon. It's already bad enough. I'm just letting you know that if somebody doesn't put the brakes on it a little bit, that it really will collapse. And when the collapse does happen, there is no going back. It doesn't get any better than that. The only time that it gets better is if you're pulled up into a ship. If you're pulled up into a plane or you're pulled up into a ship, it'll be temporarily better while you're in the sky, and that's it. Thank you and God bless. All right, so next time I'll have to tell you guys more, but it's already like 50 minutes. It's gonna take like freaking 3 days to load. So yeah, all right, peace.